In yesterday's blog, I mentioned that there's lots of different training techniques out there. One of the things that I think is a little bit challenging for people is there's all kinds of names for different types of dog training. You know, if you're a dog trainer, there's no regulations out there that say you have to call yourself a specific thing. You can make up whatever name that you would like. So dog psychologist is a classic example. There is no such thing as a real dog psychologist. It's a marketing thing. And yeah, you know, obviously it's sort of describing the ethos of that person that they're trying to get into the dog's head. Well, I'm not a dog psychologist. Sometimes you can tell what they're thinking by their behaviour, but yeah, I'm definitely in the behaviourist camp, but that's not a very popular term. It's too sciencey. So behaviorism is a well-known term that's used by scientists to describe a particular way of viewing things. You're basically looking at behaviour instead of trying to imagine what the animal is thinking. So it works really well because you're going based on evidence. What is the animal doing? Oh, okay, we know what it's doing, now we can try to make it do something else. If that doesn't work, you're going to see that in the behaviour. So that's why I like behaviorism. It's not the only thing around, but as far as names for different types of training, a couple of the really popular ones, balanced trainers. They are sort of like trying to be in between the so-called purely positive trainers and the what they call traditional trainers. Now, all these terms are so fluffy and so incorrect. So I'm such a picky person. I really prefer to use words correctly. I like words, I respect them. I don't want to be mean and misuse them. So traditional trainers is from the early part of last century. We'd line up in rows and all your dogs would be wearing choke chains, and the instructor would be up the front like a drill sergeant, giving instructions on when to correct your dog. And they were very much into getting the dogs to be very robot-like and very keen to have a very polished, consistent-looking set of obedience behaviours. And that's kind of where all of our obedience competition stuff came from. It became very, very popular to train your dog. Before that, it was just meh. If it was a farm dog, you made it herd sheep, and if it was a rat dog, you just let it eat rats. So formal training wasn't a thing before that, unless it was a specific working dog. So you've got that. That's the traditional training, generally with a choke chain. When the behavioural science started to leak through later in the last century, there was a movement which was broadly, and still is, called clicker training, and that was, you know, didn't start until the 80s, 90s. The science was around way before then, but it took a while for it to make it through. So clicker training is basically just using a little noisemaker to make a noise to give your learner information about when they have done something correctly. So that's all it is. The dog sits, it hears a click, it knows that there's a reward coming. So I am definitely a clicker trainer. The other term that you can use for that, if you're not actually, you know, holding a little clicker thingy, is marker training. So it's a verbal marker. So if I say good in a particular voice, my dog will come running up to me and say, "Oh, I must have done something because I'm going to get a reward." So marker training, clicker training, same thing. Those are both very much focused on positive reinforcement. So again, going back to the science. So earlier I mentioned the balanced trainers. They're in between. So they're trying to use the punishment-based methods, but they add in positive reinforcement or rewards as well. So if you're an unskilled balanced trainer, you can end up with some very worried, confused dogs because they don't know what they're going to get. If I do this, do I get a reward or do I get a punishment? Maybe I just won't do anything. And you tend to get that kind of response from the older, the traditional training as well. Dogs do not try new things. They are going to do what they're told, when they're told, and that is it. And they tend to not cope as well with novelty unless you've trained them to a high level to cope with it. I'm definitely in the positive reinforcement camp. Unfortunately, there's a lot of different terms for that. So purely positive, I absolutely hate that one because it's technically incorrect. Purely positive, force-free. That makes me laugh every time. Force-free. So we're not forcing the dogs to do anything. Oh, except we're going to drag them along by their leashes to class. So, you know, they're there voluntarily, even though they're you know, being dragged along behind you. And yeah, you're not going to put any boundaries on your dog that's force-free. We will not force them to stay in the house. They can run across the road and get squashed. So there's so many things in our dogs' lives that we manage. You know, we keep them safe. So I'm not a particular fan of the force-free terminology. I am a huge fan of reward-based training. So that's what I call myself. I am a reward-based trainer. So reward is a common name for positive reinforcement. So you're adding something and it's making them want to do that, whatever they did more. So yeah, there's so much terminology out there. So if you've got any questions about some weird name that you've come across for a dog trainer, let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear more of them. As I said, it's up to the dog trainer what they're going to call themselves. I am a reward-based dog trainer. I do not teach people to use aversive stuff on their dogs because I know that there's a scope for messing that up and causing emotional distress to both the dog and the people. So yeah, reward-based all the way for me. I am a clicker trainer and a marker signal trainer, and I definitely belong to some groups that will definitely say that they're force-free or purely positive and all that sort of stuff. The terminology is just, it's what you make it. So yeah, tell me in the comments if you've come across any interesting ones. Otherwise, yeah, I'll see you in the next blog tomorrow. I'm Mara from Dog Training Help.